Alrighty. And we're rolling. All right. Brian from Brian's Gym, and we're doing a video today. Been a little bit since we've done something, or I have. I'm not going against what I said in the very beginning. This is not trying to be professional or, have a production. But I kind of had some thoughts. Some of the next videos that I was going to do were going to be based on creating a workout log, how to figure out how to create a workout. And it just so happened that we've had some longtime members who I got to talking to. And with me today, I've got Pat and Kendra. And they've been here. You guys have been members for long time. And, they've been in the gym scene. I think she's done. You guys did some of the home workout stuff together, too.
A little bit.
You've done everything. You've ran. You've kind of done it all. Like you've done it all. And so as I got to talking to them, it just kind of dawned on me. I've got clientele, but I'm very selective. I don't publicly take on clients or personal train. I kind of get to pick as the owner who I want to work with, set my own rates. And upon talking to them, I thought it would be a perfect example to truly sit down and see what a good consult with I won't call myself a coach, just somebody that wants to help people who happens to own a gym. And in this, we'll be talking about workout logs, nutrition, how to set workouts up. I know we really just kind of put this together. This is not something that's been, we may have chatted a couple of times. I put you through one hellacious set on triceps. And, really overall, this is just spur of the moment. One of the things I was talking to, which by the way, thanks Best Take Media and Eves for coming in and doing this. Part of the reason we're doing this is because I can't just hold my phone like this. I said I'd never do, production-based stuff, but at the same time, this is really just to help encompass what we're doing. But part of the thing that I was telling Eve is that I get irritated at seeing a lot of the online coach stuff, a lot of the Instagram coach, a lot of these productions that are just, one thing you never really see is somebody bring a client in and just try to talk about their goals, what they want to do. The truth of the matter is, as we get into this, I'm not going to claim that everything that I say today is rock solid, has to be what everybody does. I'm not saying that every coach has to be this way. There's online coaches that have a lot of clients and they've got their intake forms and they're very effective for what they're doing. You've got other coaches that they are known to be like, if you go to them, you're going to be eating chicken and broccoli, multiple times a day.
Yes,
and right. And the thing of it is, that's okay. You just need to know what you're getting signed up for. Today, though, I really just want to show the critical thinking component of what a good coach should be doing. I also want to provide people with an opportunity to compare because, yes, if you're a crappy coach, I'm calling you out. If you're charging $30 a month, maybe $100 a month, $150 a month, people out there are going to be able to compare what they're paying and what they're getting to what we're doing today. And so, I'm not interested again in trying to be this big influencer. This is strictly for our local area to provide people with an opportunity to see what they can put together and how to put something together. I try to teach principles, not methods, of working out and dieting. There's multiple methods out there that we may pick and choose from. And, it's always kind of funny to me because you'll see some of these new coaches and it's like they get a hold of a new concept. It could be like, the 80-20 clean diet or, the 10 by 10. And it's like, next thing you know, everybody's being pushed to that. And working out and nutrition is kind of like learning Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like as a new belt, when you learn a new move, you try to put that into everything. You want to make it fit and you're trying to figure it out. As a black belt, you know the moves, but more importantly, you know when to implement them. You know who may, be able to utilize them better. And so today, that's kind of what we're going to do is just utilize that critical thinking. I know she's got a ton of questions. You've got some questions. I told them to write down, fill out their notebooks. So we're going to go ahead and kind of just get started. Let's go ahead and just start with the workout. I think that's kind of the grime that we want to get into is, so what have you guys overall, you guys are what, hitting 5 days a week, 4 days a week? What's kind of your...
It's usually a 5 day.
Okay.
Yeah, like Monday chest, Tuesday back and biceps, Wednesday shoulders, Thursday be biceps, triceps. Sometimes whatever I feel was, shortened, whatever I'm trying to make up on, maybe an extra body group there, and then some sort of cardio and legs on Friday. So.
Right. And for the most part, I think we did mention this a little bit. You guys, and like a lot of people, you kind of come in and you've got a general kind of idea of what, like today we're going to do chest and tris. We know we're probably going to do bench, but I'd say that probably from there it's kind of whatever we feel like doing, or...
And then we'll be looking at each other, looking up, meanwhile my heart rate's dropping, my morale of my workout's dropping.
Right.
It's just the unknown. Like you said, I feel like the basic framework is given to me, but you can only run so far with that. You're going to hit a, what do I do now?
Right,
I feel like that's exactly where I'm at.
Right. And so that's one of the first things that, I think I've had this conversation actually a couple times in the last few weeks. You've got multiple types of individuals that come to the gym. I've mentioned this on other videos. But you've got the people that come to the gym and they're literally just doing it because they want to feel like they're being active. They've got, maybe it's a mental release. As long as they feel the muscles work, they do some cardio, they're good. Then we've got more what I feel like are you guys. And we'll just go ahead and say it out. For the most part, you guys have a great relationship as far as training partners, because I think anyways, correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of the one that's like, this is what we're doing. Yeah. And you're like, great, let's do it. Yeah. Which is nothing wrong with that. But you're supporting her. Mm-hmm. She's kind of supporting you in that way. And, we've gotten to a point to where you want more than just coming in.
Yes, and it almost leaves me unfulfilled when I step out of the gym now.
Right.
Whenever I was in I'm still an amateur, but obviously like in my beginning months of lifting, I left the gym even when I honestly knew the same knowledge base I know now, feeling awesome. Now, like I said, I'm always struggling to be sweaty and to be red and to be, wow, I really pushed myself.
Except for the time when I took her through a set.
That was kind of like that light bulb. Wow, yeah. I haven't been giving it my all, and I legitimately thought I was,
Sure.
And that's kind of the point where I need some help.
And we'll kind of explain what that situation was and how it relates to everything, but this is where a lot of people are kind of at a crossroad. And, what we're going to talk about today, I just put out basically, this is the user manual. Mm-hmm. Sure. You've got to decide how far are you willing to go. And ultimately, what that means is you're going to be honest with yourself and assessing, what am I willing to do? Now, some people are willing to, if you tell me to eat broccoli and chicken 5 times a day, I will do it. I don't think that has to happen. Okay. I think there's 2 types of coach mentalities. Some of the bodybuilding coach mentality has bled over into some of the lifestyle mentality in some ways. And, until or unless somebody's trying to get on stage at a super low body fat, we really don't have to worry about that. But workouts are something that if you want to see progress, you have to treat workouts like climbing up a mountain that gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And like you probably experienced in the beginning, man, you're flying up that mountain, everything's great, you know what to do. And then you hit that first ledge and maybe you kind of get over it, or maybe you try a new method or you do something new. You kind of do it and then you hit the next one and you're still doing the same thing. And before long, you're fighting for every inch that you get. And sometimes you're just feeling like, what am I doing?
Definitely. I feel exactly like that. But now it's almost fear at that other next ledge, because now you're getting up so high that you start questioning yourself, and that's when I do need that reassurance that I'm doing it right and my efforts aren't going, Well,
or even the critique that say, hey, it's not that you're doing it wrong, but we need to adapt and we need to change. And that's another big thing that as we get into this, anytime you start something, you've got to treat it like a scientific study, like a control group. In other words, we've got to set some basic parameters that we agree that we're going to follow, and we've got to see how you respond to that. Because if we're just constantly changing stuff, you don't know what's working, what's not. It's kind of like, which path do I choose? I'm going to go left. I start to question, then I start to go right, then I veer off.
And then I got to experiment.
Yeah. And, you kind of lead yourself down this road of chaos. So first things first is let's talk about routine and weights. And one of the things that we really need to get into our mentality is that we are going to pick a routine. We're going to pick a rep range. We're going to pick, whatever it is we're going to do. And our mentality is to get as absolutely perfect and as good and as hardworking as we can at those movements over the next 12 weeks. And I'll tell people sometimes your routines can last 8 weeks. They can last 16 weeks, 20 weeks. You may just be rocking something. You feel good and you decide to take it longer.
Sure.
But we've got to have something that we can measure progress on. And I think where a lot of confusion came in, I saw it as a gym owner, is when PX90 came out, or PX90-like workouts, because the marketing was, you got to shock the body, you got to do something different. You're not, your body adapts, so you've got to make sure, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's always with fitness, and this is where it kind of gets annoying, there's slight truths that kind of get skewed or whatever. And, with that, and you've probably done this, let's say, I know bench is a big goal of yours that we'll talk about, but you've probably worked your bench up and then done something else, and when you came back to that bench, you were weaker.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, if you're doing that all the time, how are you ever getting stronger at a certain movement? If you're constantly switching it up, So what I like to tell people is, if your goal is actually muscle, to put on muscle, yeah, we're going to shock the body. That may be that, we have a shock routine every few workouts that we do, or after, 10 to 12 weeks, we're going to do something different to shock the body for a little bit and then go back, or we may switch it up. But for the most part, you have got to, let's take the exercise. So what happened was she was on her last set on a dip machine, and I came up and I said, all right, I said, how are we doing? This is your last set? Last set. She said, yes. And what was the first question I asked you as far as what you could do? I said,
what do you normally start with?
Right.
And try to put it up to where, you only can do one set to start trickling down. And then I put the weight, what I thought was heavy for me. And then
23 reps later.
Yeah. And then I just kept going. And then
Right.
mid-set, it kind of clicked. Like, I am so shortchanging myself because I'm quitting before. And that could be, something I have learned also in the past is you're going to risk injury. Don't push your body that hard,
Right.
When I want to know what the happy ground is where my knee is talking to me a little bit, but I do want to push harder
Sure.
than the rest of me, just little stuff like that I feel like you said, gets kind of engraved into your mind, and then you overthink it, like, I have to shock my body. I did this last week. When that was a solid set, and there was nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
And truth of the matter is, we probably could have bumped that weight up next time and worked even harder, and you would have been like, oh, I blew that away, And the truth of the matter is, you're not going to do that every time. But when it comes to your workouts, everything can kind of be hypocritical. And I'll use a basic example. We're going to develop a workout for you guys that strictly focuses on compound movements. Are you familiar with what compound and isolation movements are?
Well, at a very generic, my mind just pops up to isolation. You're going to do something that is really short, you're isolating, when my mind just goes to a bicep curl, you're going to isolate one muscle opposed to.
Right. No, you're right. So we can take it as far as squats, bench, military press. Those are going to be more of your compound movements that involve multiple muscles, stabilization, things of that nature. They also take a lot more metabolic. When you get done with them, you're drained.
Yeah.
Versus doing an isolation curl or a single cable pull down or side laterals, So as we're getting into this, we're going to develop your routine mostly around compound movements, but getting back to the intensity side and kind of that basic marker, you're not always going to have the same intensity. There's going to be days where, you're struggling to do the same that you've been doing. And you don't always have to go as hard as we did that day. But kind of my belief is that we've got to push it in the beginning because you've got to learn what 100% is.
Yeah.
So that you know what 50% is, or so you know that what 75% is. So in the beginning, we're going to really focus on learning your body and kind of seeing what your limits are. And we'll do it in a safe way. So what we're going to do, let's look at let's look at a basic day of your, maybe a workout or something, kind of see what you've got.
Like you want to do an example?
Yeah, let's just see well, just an average day. I don't even care so much about the weight, just exercise selection, body part and exercise selection.
Okay. Monday, like I said, is usually chest, and I don't know. This is one of those things too that I'd be clearing up with you. Like I've heard, like you should start with something lighter, like a tricep cable, like to warm up your elbows or whatever. I don't know, what type of split I should be doing. Do you go for those heavy compound lifts right off, or do you want us on a cable, kind of warming up your joints and everything?
Sure.
So that's kind of one question that popped up. But then I hop to like decline barbell press, and then I'll do barbell incline. And then I did some crunches. I remember to kind of give myself a little bit of a break. And then I know I jump on my dumbbells.
Right.
So I kind of follow it up with that. But like I said, Tuesday, you want me to go through another example, which would be...
Let's start with Monday and go back to something. And again, this is non-scripted. So there's going to be things where I all of a sudden remember that I was talking about something. But when I talk about exercises being kind of hypocritical, what I mean by that is you're going to hear in some schools that like you always start with your compounds and then you finish with your isolations. Okay, so you're this new person, you've been told that, you're going along, and then you see this coach who's having somebody do some isolations first before they're doing their compounds, and you're going, what? Like,
usually
what happened? Yeah, you're like, are they getting info?
Something I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in an instance like that, it might be that somebody's more advanced and we're trying to work on a certain body part. And when they bench, the triceps tend to take over. And so they're not getting as much chest work out of it. So what we do is we do an isolation movement first, because that fatigues that chest muscle so that when we're overdoing our bench press or whatever, we've already kind of fatigued that chest and it's getting extra, stimulation because it's already been, warmed up. There are components that you could use this to warm up, but it's kind of one of those things, again, knowing I'm using X for what purpose. And that's where I say it can get really hypocritical. So we're going to focus on taking the exercise volume down a little bit and primarily working on that intensity factor.
Okay.
Because number one, if we're focusing on all compound movements, I guarantee, and we're putting some of that same intensity in, that we did on the dip machine, like you're going to be in the very beginning, like, okay, this is all I can do, So we'll start with that. As far as a routine, one routine that I kind of like for, I guess you could say, beginners is, I'm going to write this out. Friday. So we might do like chest and try. Okay, so what we're doing is we're doing chest and tries on Monday, back and buys. Wednesday we're doing shoulders. Thursday we're doing legs, and then Friday we're going to do chest and tries again. Okay, what that means is that next week we're going to start with back and buys.
I see.
And so what that means is next week we're going to start with back and buys, and guess what we're going to finish with?
Okay.
Okay, and then the following week we're going to start with shoulders on Monday, and we're going to finish with shoulders.
Okay.
This is a good way because people also get into, well, do I train a body part twice a week? And you can get a little neurotic with that stuff. So this is kind of a nice way for people to work into periodically training a body part twice a week without necessarily getting into overtraining or, and it might be the type of thing that after, we're done with all this, we may do a shock routine on one of those days, or we may keep it the same and just you train twice a week.
Sure.
As far as the workout. So as far as I've watched you guys a little bit, you know, and I know bench is a big component for you. I've watched that. Back, I've seen you guys kind of do a mix. I've seen a lot of cable rows and a lot of, I think some isolation movements and things. Shoulders, you guys are typically doing, what's kind of your shoulder go-to exercises?
Lateral raise, you know, on the machine, and I usually jump to some sort of press, whether it be, you know, standing or seated, you know, on the actual machines, and then I follow that up with a dumbbell press normally. But,
Okay. And then legs. What are we doing?
gosh, that is like my most complicated area
Okay.
of unknown. I feel like leg, like I've heard so much stuff, like it is half your body. Like, should I only be training it one day? Am I under training my legs? Like, then I hear a lot of, you know, your power comes from your base, and like you could even make that your warm up for your, you know, upper body days. You know, I'm so confused on how often, the load, all of it with legs.
So, and that's why we're gonna remove all of that, and we're just gonna focus on leg day. Is just gonna be leg day. That's all it's gonna be.
Stop overcomplicating.
Right. We're gonna stop overcomplicating it. But I think she's probably got a pretty powerful base. I mean, you know. So, and on something like that, we're probably going to keep it pretty clean. It's going to be squats, deadlifts, maybe the pendulum squat, and you know, for the time being, that might be it. And your only goal is to focus on improving your technique, increasing your weights, you know, maximizing your reps. You know, we're going to simplify it.
Sure.
Okay, so. Back and buys, you know, we'll try to get more into the compound movements. We're going to do more barbell rows, you know, lat pull downs, dumbbell rows, things of that nature. You know, some of the isolation stuff is good and, you know, could be used as a warm up. But again, if you're using your sets as part of your, you've got to think of it as like warm up set, pre-work set, all out set.
And I have never thought of it like
right.
that.
And so then it simplifies a little bit. That doesn't mean that down the road we might not, you know, adjust a little bit of that. So let's go ahead and let's switch to a page with your notebook that's open.
Okay.
And let's start talking about
A fresh page.
fresh page. Okay. So let's talk about maybe our chest and tri workout. Okay. And you're going to hate me on this, but I kind of want to remove anything for a while, any neurotic kind of. So we might kind of back off on the bench for a little while. We're still going to do a version of it, but let's maybe start with some incline Smith.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I like incline, you know, barbell. I just don't utilize the Smith machine. I probably underuse that machine. So Smith machine. Incline.
Yep. All right. And from there, we can take it in to, you guys do much flat dumbbell press?
Here recently, we've been getting, you know, starting to do a
little bit more
of it, yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, we haven't used them very much before, like the last couple months.
Yeah.
We really just strayed away from the dumbbell section altogether.
So let's go ahead and throw in a flat dumbbell press. That'll be our next one. And then let's go back to a hammer strength incline press. Okay. We're going to keep you guys at about 3 exercises per body part for right now.
Really? I've been doing 9.
I know, this is going to be a freak out for you a little bit.
It is.
But our rep range, and I'm going to have you write up here at the top, okay? Our rep range is going to be 12 to 15. Okay, that's our first. So our first set's 12 to 15. Okay. Then we're going to go 10 to 12. Okay. Then we're going to go 8 to 10. And that last one's going to be 6 to 8. So you guys are going to still be able to keep in, you know, going for your strength. Okay.
We'll be dropping the weight as we maybe, or
no, your reps determine your weight.
Gotcha.
Okay, this is what I always tell people. Again, we're not going to get neurotic about it, but your reps are basically going to determine what weight you use. And typically, you can throw like 50% of what your, not your 1 rep max, but what your max is. And on some of this, you guys are going to have to figure, this is where the figuring out comes in. But we're going to shoot for that 12 to 15. Okay. We're going to take our break. Or in one case, what I do want to kind of change with you guys, and this is part of why we're down in the exercise selection, is I have watched. I know you guys do the same thing, but I kind of see sometimes you go off and do your version and you do your version. Well, now we're a training partner. We're, your break is her work time and vice versa.
Okay.
We're not having to try to get in here and do 9 exercises, so you've got the time to do it.
Sure.
Okay. So when we're doing this, we're going to be focusing on making the weight, I guess making the reps determine what weight we have. So, when we do our first set, and you guys might have to change the weight a little bit, obviously, but you've got the time to do it. You're just burning more calories if you do, so, that's fine. So 12 to 15, that's your warm-up. And one of the things that we're going to be working on is full range of motion. That's one thing that we are going to really be strict on because, again, we've got to get that control method down of knowing what full range of motion is before we can ever do partials or anything like that. It's just really easy to let that stuff get away. So next set, we're going to bump the weight up, 10 to 12. You might add, 10, 15 pounds. That third set, we're going for 8 to 10. That last set is the 6 to 8. And on typically what we're going to do is, for instance, on this exercise, we're going to do our rest pause at the very end. So you're going to hit that, whatever it is, 6 to 8 rep range. Okay. When you can't get any more, you're going to rack it. And this is why the machines are good, because you don't want to try this stuff necessarily with squats or regular bench. You're going to rack it and, count for 10 counts, a good average. Just a nice, get 10 breaths, pump out what you can. Okay. We're going to do 2 rest pause sets. Okay. So, and to a degree, we're going to follow this with everything that we do. Like our first exercise will be rest pause.
Okay.
Dumbbells, we're going to do more of a straight set. Okay, because you can't really do a lot of the stuff. You just want to focus on that rep range. That's where the spotting becomes really important, though. Okay. When she's hitting that point of failure, when he's hitting that point of failure, making sure you guys are helping. And then on the last one, when we're doing the hammer strength, that's when we're going to do our drop sets.
Okay.
So that's the one where we're getting what we can, 6 to 8. Then we're dropping the weight, we're continuing, and we may do that, 2 or 3 times. Okay. So, and we're not going to go through the entire off camera. We're going to go through more of this, but just to give kind of an idea, tries. So we've done our chest. Now we're going to do our tries. Okay. So tries, what do we, obviously you like dips. I think dips, probably we could keep those in there.
Yeah,
I think that was a good one. So let's go ahead and we'll do the dip machine. Okay. And you guys, what do you guys typically like to do? Do you do skull crushers? Is there anything you can
bounce around? Really, I mean, we really like cable extensions. I mean,
cable
we always do that overhand.
So let's do a cable press down. Okay, a straight bar cable press down. Now, one of the things you guys probably have paid attention to this, but every 9-way, you've got the area where you can do your cable chest press, and then there's that one on the end that feels way heavier. Okay. So
that's my favorite.
So you've got to dictate, because the other cables all have more leverage, so they're helping the weight. So when we talk about doing our tricep cable press on this, we're talking about using that end. Okay. Farthest one. Okay. All right, and then finally we can finish off. I will show you guys this one, but we're going to do kind of it's more of a close grip push up off like a Smith machine. It's more of a body weight, but it's a good finisher. Okay. And that might be more of a straight set.
No, it's like a pull up.
You're going to be actually grabbing on, and you're almost going to be like you're doing a skull crusher and pushing yourself up. So we'll go through that at a different time. That'll be more of a straight set. But on your dip machine, you can do that rest pause. On your cable tricep push down. You can do your drop sets. And so this does not look like a lot, right?
That's what I was just thinking.
I know.
But then I was thinking that's gonna take a while though. Like when you look at all the sets that you're gonna do.
You're going to do that. But here's the other reason that I like to do this with people, because I see it all the time. People come in and it doesn't matter whether you're tired or you're not tired. You get through your first couple exercises, you kind of don't push it. That's all right. I've still got. Okay, here's the new mentality. You put everything into this or you waste your time, because you don't get another. It's one and done. This is your only shot.
The motive is right there.
Yeah. So make it count.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to do this all the way through. Now, here's what I will tell you. In the beginning, you guys are going to get through this relatively, especially, the leg days. You're going to get through this relatively quickly. As that weight starts going up, you're going to need more rest time. You're going to be, and so your time frame is going to expand a little bit. We're going to do something a little bit different too. And this is not because you guys are really interested in, I don't think, we're not trying to, when we get into the nutrition, do a calorie deficient diet or anything. You guys are more interested in functionality, body composition change, but putting on that muscle.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, just to kind of have, again, that kind of controlled manner, we're going to do 30 minutes of walking after we're done. After we're done. Okay? And we'll do that, an incline walk. And we want to get this up to a point to where the key factor when you're inclining a treadmill that a lot of people make a mistake on is they're holding onto the treadmill. So, you can incline that thing way up, but as soon as you start grabbing it, you're kind of negating the whole purpose. So we want to get it to a pace to where you guys could have a conversation. You've heard labored breath kind of measurement as far as cardio. Have you heard that before? Okay. So we want to get you guys to where you're able to have a conversation, but it's in a labored breath.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll keep this way for a while, and again, just use this to see what we kind of get out of it. Now, with that being said, when you guys first come to the gym, jump on the elliptical for 10 minutes, kind of get the blood flowing.
Daily?
Daily. Yeah, when you get on, warm up a little bit. I've seen you guys stretch.
But really, I just stretch like whatever sore. Like to say what I actually know what I'm doing would be a lie.
Okay. And for the most part, when you actually think about it, when you're doing, if I'm doing a barbell chest press, right, and I'm doing a nice full range, watch what's happening. What's happening?
Your chest is going out.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
Stretching it.
Yeah,
I'm stretching it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that necessarily this is completely taking the place of all stretching. I stretch, okay? But I've seen you guys kind of, you'll spend a good little time over stretching, and you don't necessarily need to do that. If you want to maybe stretch, the body part out that you're doing, we've got the stretch machine over there, but it just needs to be maybe a couple rounds of some static stretch, nothing big. Hold it for 10 seconds. But for the most part, when you're doing a controlled weight, you've got to think of that weight as actually like me pushing down and stretching you out and pushing back. So it's going to kind of be a 2-in-1 factor with that. Okay. And again, somebody who's watching this could say that's utter nonsense. There's multiple ways to do things.
Yeah.
We are picking something to stick with so that we have something to measure. Okay. So abs, that's the other thing we're going to talk about. Okay. Abs get overcomplicated a lot. In the sense that you're going to see people doing a ton of different ab stuff, their angles and everything like that, spending, 30 minutes on abs. You really, if you're doing a lot of compound movements, you're engaging your abdominal wall. You're stabilizing.
Yeah.
So we're not going to make abs a big deal. What I like to do with people is they're just like any other muscle. Increase the resistance, you're going to increase the thickness of the ab wall. And so we're going to do 3 to 5 sets of hanging leg raises one day. At the end of your workout, and some of this we'll go over off camera as well, And then the next day, we're going to do 3 to 5 sets of decline ab raises, where you're on the decline bench doing your ab raises.
That's kind of cool.
Okay. Don't give me that much credit. It's not. It's not. That's the one thing. That's the one disclaimer I'm going to say. Nothing. I will take credit for nothing that I am talking about with these guys. I have learned this from years of bodybuilding and other coaches and other things. There's nothing that pisses me off more, like I said, when somebody tries to take ownership of something and follow my, method. Because it's really not. It's the principle that is utilizing the method. But it's been around. It's all been recycled. There's things that get highlighted and everything. So yeah, we're going to keep that pretty simple, and we're going to just replicate this off camera. We're going to go through this and replicate this more. But the main factor is when you guys are coming in, you're coming in with a purpose, which leads us to the next topic: workout log.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is you will hear me preach this till the day I die. And there's going to be phases where it might not be as stringent. But the workout log serves a greater purpose than what anybody realizes, okay? And the reason that I say this is because how many times have you guys come into the gym, you're going to do bench, you're going to do, back, whatever. Do you remember what you did last workout for all your sets?
Yeah, not really.
Not really?
I have an idea.
Right.
Yeah, and I base that with
Right.
how I feel that day.
So the question is, how are you getting better at what you're doing if you don't have an idea? If we were to, if I was able to take everything that you've done in the last month and put it up in front of you, would we see a progress, or would we just kind of see this, average line? Now, I will say this: strength and gains does not happen in a continual line. Anybody who's been in this, will tell you this happens in almost a linear rising level. You have that plateau, you kind of, tweak stuff, or you have spurts of strength, whatever. But with that being said, most people can't even see that because they can't even really, I don't know what I did, and so that's where the workout log comes in. And, with our workout log, we'll just, date it. We'll put, for me, I just, and here's the thing, there's apps that can do your workout logs. I like notebooks because I can put notes. Okay. Sure. And we got to give him credit too. He came in, what time? You got off work at what?
Like 5:30.
5:30, and he's been in here. So give him credit for being here. And if
I'm red-eyed.
Yeah. So for instance, we may say our incline, bench, dumbbell press, then what do we say? Hammer, incline press. You can just abbreviate it. I'm not one, I have chicken scratch. I don't, but here's the nice thing that I can do is, we're going to put our weight times, let's say we got 15, our weight times, let's say we got 11 for our next, we did for our fourth, we got 10, and for our last, we got 8. So, I know this looks like chicken scratch, but picture this in a notebook. You've got your date, you've got your incline Smith bench. We do rep ranges because we're not trying to stick to a singular rep number, because then you start to get neurotic about.
I was just about to ask you. In my head, I was like, but then I'll get neurotic about this number.
That's why we do rep ranges. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the rep range, not the number. Okay? You will have to judge. There may be a time when you go up in weight, and let's say we're going to 12 to 15, and you did get 11. Do you need to drop the weight, or do you need to, you're going to have to answer that. Yeah, you're going to have to tweak that. You may actually, dude, I'm so close. My goal is to just work on getting those reps, okay? So, for instance, we did incline Smith barbell. We did 55 for 15, 65 for 11, 70 for 10, 80 for 8, okay? Now, based on our rep ranges, So our rep ranges, we got our first one, right? 12 to 15. 10 to 12, we got 11. So do we really need to up the weight? Or what are we shooting for? We're shooting for 12.
You're in there, yeah.
We're going to still shoot for 12, okay? 8 to 10, we got 10, okay? 6 to 8, we got 8. So that's kind of where, okay, I may try it next week, okay? But at the bottom here, when we're talking about doing our rest pause, this is where I like the notebook, because it may be that I write out plus 6, I did my other rest, plus 3. So remember the rest pause set? I got my 8, then I got plus 6, plus 3.
After your rest.
Right.
Your little rest.
Right.
Okay.
So now, next time I come into the gym, my only goal is to beat this log. Now, I don't mean everywhere. That means if I just get 12 reps,
You beat it.
I beat it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
A game against yourself.
Right. So again, we're not making these huge, you may make big leaps and bounds in the beginning, but we've got to have these little micro gains that we're trying to work. Now, with that being said, we're not going to create this neurotic sense of you always have to get the reps and the weight.
Yeah.
There are going to be times where you guys are tired, you've had a hard day, you are simply trying to come in and do what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Okay? You've got to look at effort relative to the now. The now could be a great day. You've had all your food. You had a great day yesterday. You got good rest. The relative effort to the now. Okay. Likewise, you could have a hard day. You didn't sleep much. Maybe there was a little bit of stress between you guys. Whatever the case, and you're just trying to come in and put as much effort as you can into what you're doing now. Doesn't mean you're going to crash the record book on this stuff.
Yeah.
But I could argue that effort-wise, it took you more effort to put into that hard day than it did on a good day.
Definitely.
And there's some days to where when I was competing or training, I would have a rough day and I always came up with little mantras in my mind, and it might be the type of thing where, if I can do this on a bad day, what can I do on a good day? And there's some days that I'd actually end up doing more on a bad day. But we want to use all these as factors to measure. We don't want it to turn into this neurotic, because then it takes kind of the purpose out of it. So we've got that. So on our dumbbell press, it's going to be pretty, I'll write this down here, 40, times 8, and maybe we ended up with 60 times 6. So on our straight sets, we can pretty well put, 35 times 12. Maybe we got 40 times 10, 50 times 8. And we finished off with 60 times 6. So we kind of know, based on our rep ranges, what we're working on next time. And you may float around this rep range for a while to where, you've always got to remember, if you up your weight on your first rep or your first set, it's going to affect your others. What I try to, in an optimal world, once you can get the top number of each set is when you want to increase the weight. In a realistic world, that might not always happen. Okay? So that's where this comes into play more, because you don't want to get neurotic about it, but you got to look at the overall trend. Yeah, the overall trend. So on our hammer strength, we're going to finish off with that. Let's say we did our sets. We got 4, we got 10. Oh, we're just using numbers right now for an example. And 8. Okay, so let's say on our hammer strength, we got 50 times 12, 55 times 10, 60 times 10, 60 times 8. Obviously, that 60 is kind of a hard point that we're having. Probably not going to go up in weight. Okay, but at the very end, remember our drop set, right? So out to the side, we do 40 times 12. Maybe it's 25 times 10. And hence, this is where our notebook comes in handy, because we're paying attention to those extra factors that we're
What's
putting
going
in.
on.
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Okay. And that allows us to next time come in and we've got all these little things. Maybe we're focused on the reps right now, but maybe we hit a really solid drop set and we feel like, I'm going to up that next time 5 pounds. I want to get a little bit, I
More.
really felt good. And so I'm going to hit that. So this is where, the notebook comes in. And what I like to do, I'm old school. I simply take a picture of what my last workout was. And then I've got that on my phone
As
I'm going to my next.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know people have said, oh, there's an app that does that. Well, sometimes I have little notes. Sometimes you're going to see me. I will try to go out and I will put no, because I tried too much. I thought I was going to get it. It absolutely turned into a crap set. And it's like, dude, what were you thinking? And I will simply in big letters write,
Fix it.
check yourself and go back down next time, So, it's very simplistic with a log. Like I said, I like the notebook paper because it gives me those little notes, and everything, but it's not hard to do. And, just day in and day out, you're logging all your workouts. And again, we're going to start to see this little pattern of, and then you're probably going to plateau for a while. We're going to change things up and we're going to move on. So, questions on this so far?
That answered a whole lot of my questions as far as like volume and intensity, because those are like some of my main, I'm in the dark. Like, how far is too far? I don't want to push myself too hard, but like, I don't also want to leave a whole bunch on the table and wonder why I'm not growing. Yeah.
Right.
So I think just finding that balance, like with the intensity and the volume, like how many reps, how many sets, what intensity level am I training to? I know it's all going to be in correlation to my goals, but I feel like all the time when I step into the gym, I want it to be a fiery one, and I'm mad when it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll be frustrated if it's not.
Right.
And I'll tell him, that workout sucked. I don't know what was different than last week, but even though the machines and the sets were the same, but it just wasn't the same.
And that's what we're trying, because life factors can throw so many different things at you.
Yeah.
We want to keep what we can controlled. And that's not to say that down the road, hey, Brian, I've been looking, what's the whole 5x5 routine? Oh, you interested in that? Well, let's sit down and let's look at, maybe we can do a block phase of that, or but what I will talk to people about. When I first got into this, I got out of MMA. I put posts up before, and martial arts, and I got into this, and I bought the Muscle Mag Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Knew nothing about anything. I just like lifting, and the only thing that I got out of that was you've got to lift hard and heavy. And you got to eat a lot of food. And so how I didn't get salmonella, I have no idea. But I carried a tub. I was known as carrying that tub. It wasn't in a cooler. It was just a tub of chicken breasts. And I'd have my oatmeal tub, and I'd do 4 scoops of dry oatmeal, wash it down with water. And I was doing that 7 times a day. And all I did for my routine at that time was I would come in and do a similar split to what we've set up for you guys. I would pick 2 compound movements. So chest day was literally incline bench and flat bench, 5 sets, 8 to 10 reps. Back day was a width exercise and a thickness exercise, lat pull downs, barbell rows, very basic. And that was the first 25 pounds that I ever put on in about 4 months. And it was just simply, it's very simplistic in what we see. But it's hard on day to day, So, well, good. So I think we're kind of got a direction there. The cardio is just kind of keep the metabolism racing. Hopefully, it'll also help. We're going to get into food here in a little bit, and I'll kind of explain where the cardio is going with that.
Okay.
But overall, obviously, if we've got some questions down the road here, we can go over. But I think you feel pretty.
Yeah, I think we covered most of my questions as far as like how we're going to structure the sets and what they need to look like, and I just want to make sure that I'm struggling within a healthy way. Yeah.
And again, your body. If I always try to tell new people, when they're concerned about hurting themselves. If you're concerned about hurting yourself, you're typically aware. You have body awareness, and you're going to be cognizant of if ooh, I better, that last set, I better stick with the same weight and just, it's really the guys that are over there ego lifting. And, one thing that I will let's go ahead and talk about this because I don't know PRs, because this is the huge thing for IG. PRs have gotten so overdone and overrated. Okay. I can take somebody who's never lifted a day in their life, put them out on a deadlift platform, and we can do some max weight that looks impressive, struggling, doing whatever, and they're walking around now saying that they deadlifted X weight. And it's like, well, no, you really don't. It took you everything. So what I always tell this back in the day, if you asked what a lot of us could 1 rep max, I don't know. I could tell you I could squat 650 for 5 to 7. I could deadlift, 585 for 3 to 5. I could bench 365 for, I think 5 to 7, 6 to 8, something like that. But really didn't care about what that 1 rep max, because it honestly just didn't do anything for me. Unless you're truly training for powerlifting, and even then, you don't need to do it.
Say a whole lot.
Yeah, so we don't need to be worried about that. We're more looking at the log and everything there. So good on that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so before we started this, we did your guys' body scans. And we've got something similar to the in-body. It's a little bit of a step up, but I still don't fully rely on this thing, because it does give your body fat percentage. It gives your basic metabolic rate, and things like that. What I like to do is, and this is for anybody that, and you guys included, that, like, where do I even start with nutrition? How do I figure this out? Okay. Do I do macros? Do I just do calories? Do I do keto? Do I do, like we talked about, the 80-20? Like, what do I do? When it all boils down to it, food is food and calories are calories. Okay. I know you guys are familiar with calories as far as you have track stuff. You've gone as far to track stuff with a food scale.
Sure.
Okay. Have you guys been doing that lately?
No.
Okay, which is fine.
I haven't done that since like 2020 because it did make me crazy. Like it made me obsessive.
What was the situation that you were doing that? Like what?
Basically going and getting these in-body scans, not getting the results that I wanted, not seeing the numbers. I put in X amount of work for that and it's not showing up here. And then basically I would fall into I'm going to go track every single thing I ate down to, which I know that's appropriate, but like, I found it like I just can go on cruise control, like more like intuitive eating. Like I know when I'm hungry and I know what a good choice is and a bad choice is.
Sure. Okay. So
really, I haven't really tracked anything like really specifically, just because I grew so frustrated with it.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't something that
and the goal was based on the number, whereas now the goal is based
on the
effort,
and something I can focus on, and more of a.
And let's touch base on that. One thing, and I get it, but again, I feel like it's gotten overrated, is the before and after pictures. I freaking hate them, and I'm going to tell you why. And I know that there's online coaches and home coaches and everybody, look at all these before and afters and all this stuff, and it just bleeds over into everything. I would rather you, a year from now, be able to walk into the locker room, look at yourself or be on your weights and be like, rather than constantly thinking, I got to be like that after picture. Because the truth of the matter is, the only thing that is relative, and I try to push this to people, the only thing that is relative is the now. As soon as you take that after picture, that now is the past. So you're either living in the past and constantly trying to measure yourself up to that, or, again, when I was at my biggest, I've got to give credit to my first bodybuilding coach, because I was a young guy and he had to talk with me, that look, you can say whatever you want. You can say that you're doing this because you love it. And I did. He said, but every bodybuilder who does this has an ego. There's nothing like walking into a room and having people go, holy crap, So it was always, I'm not sitting there looking at like a stage picture You know, it's cool when somebody's like, dude, your forearm is, or holy, what have you been doing? Or, you know, you can look at your current self now and maybe you look the same as you did a couple months ago, but you're so close to your bench.
Yeah.
Or, you know, your body composition has changed. That's what we want to focus on. And that's where all this is leading towards. So what we've got, it's a total daily expenditure calculator. And it's basically TDEEcalculator.net. And this is something that anybody can use. And so, Pat, we'll go ahead and start with you. We're just going to plug in. How old are you?
32.
32. What did we say your weight was?
253.
Okay, we said you're 6 foot.
Yep.
Okay, activity. Would we say sedentary, office job, light exercise, 1 to 2 days a week, moderate exercise, 3 to 5 days a week?
Let's say probably 3. Yeah, moderate.
Moderate. Okay. Then what we hit your body fat at? What was that around? We'll use
28. Right.
Let's see here.
Probably can't read that down.
And yeah, so we'll say 28. So one of the things that I do, talking about, you know, the in body, I always like to do 2 measurements just because I like to have, they're not going to change much, but I still like to just have that control. You know, I think yours changed by like half a point here or there, but we still got, you know, an average number. So we're going to do that. Oh, so, whoa, hold on. So we can go over here and look at, this is what's nice about this, is it kind of breaks down, you know, some options for you as far as calories, intake, what you might need to do if you're trying to go into a calorie deficit, you know, things like that. It even has over here moderate carb, low carb, high carb. So you've got some, and the reason I'm showing this is because there are coaches and there are trainers that will map out a diet. But again, I like to try to teach you how to think for yourself. And like you said, how to figure some of this stuff out. Doesn't mean that you may not still want some guidance down the road, but you know, let's.
It reminds me of the principle of someone can tell you, but until you do it and know why they're doing it, you're not going to know it, you know.
Right. So here's what we're going to find, okay? And this is where the critical thinking comes in, because most people, most generic coaches, most whatever, and it's understandable, most people want to lose weight. So we got to be on a calorie deficit, okay? If I put you guys on a calorie deficit, but I'm sitting here telling you that we are going to work our butts off and start working harder, you know,
Never.
There's a chance you guys might, a couple weeks from now, be like, I don't have the energy. I don't have, you know, I don't have it. So on the flip side of that, you haven't necessarily been tracking. So I don't know how it's going to be for you to get food in, because there's the same thing. Coaches will say, or trainers, you need to get this many calories in. Okay. And then the person goes home and they're like, I couldn't even get 3/4 of that in. We've got to look at, you know, what your daily schedule is. We've got to, you know, account for the fact that your body your stomach may need time to get kind of used to having that food. So, you know, I think on something like this, we're probably going to stick with more of light exercise based, knowing that you guys, you know, we'll see what it's like for you guys to hit up to these calories over the next few weeks, and knowing that we're gonna increase our workout. One thing to hit on, and this is another thing that just gets I'll say it drives all coaches insanely mad, and I don't care whether it's the band workout, the home workout, the whatever, but you get all these people that are posting up and, look, I dropped body fat and I put on muscle. The general rule of thumb is to lose body fat, you got to be at a caloric deficit. And if you want to put on muscle, you got to be in a caloric surplus.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, when a new person starts a program, or even with you guys where we're starting stuff on a whole new level, there is that possibility that over the first part, you could respond, put on some muscle, which is going to cause your calorie expenditure to go up, and your body composition is going to change. But most of the time when people are thinking that they're putting on muscle, no, you're just losing body fat and can see what's
You're
on
getting leaner.
right,
Yeah.
right. You know, so we're going to keep that in mind. But yeah, on here, you know, I don't think, you know, shooting for 29, you know, on here it's got 2963 calories a day, about 29. You know, I'd say 2900 calories a day. Okay. And the question that we have to get into is, how far do you guys want to go with this? Because obviously, and I'm going to use something else. Let's see if I can find. So this is kind of relevant for you guys, but brand new people, you know, call it a reverse pyramid, whatever. I like to phase things in. So what I will often tell people is when somebody first starts the gym, the only thing I care about them focusing on is the workout. Okay? For like 8, 12 weeks, whatever, all I want you to focus on is the workout. We're probably going to do a beginner workout. Once that's up, we're going to make your workout a little bit more advanced, and we're going to start tracking calories. If in the very beginning you eat better, great, I don't care. We're going to start tracking calories though. We're going to do that for the next 10 to 12 weeks. Then we're going to make your workout a little bit more advanced, and then we're going to start tracking our macros.
Okay.
And then after another time, we'll start changing up the workout, possibly keep it the same, tracking our macros. Now we'll introduce supplements.
Okay.
The point is, if you're doing this over the point of a process, 10 to 12 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks, you're talking like 36 weeks of developing a habit. Right.
Changes.
Right. Changes, but again, the habit is more important than the change, because I can come in and have you guys, you know, or have somebody new start a workout, track their macros, throw in supplements, and that's a lot of change.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Can they really do it though? You know, I would rather you start because really diet does matter, but if depending on your goals, none of it matters if your workouts just aren't. Yeah, if your workouts suck.
My mental is in the dumps anyway, if those are in the dumps.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and you guys work out in the morning. You're probably kind of like me. Work out in the morning, and that kind of starts your day off.
Exactly.
That goes well. You eat better. You handle things. Sets the tone. You know, all that type of stuff. And again, to point it out, this is with you guys. If I had somebody coming to me that works out midday or works out in the evening, you know, there might be different principles, you know, or different using a different method, whatever that we have to do. You know, if they're single, if they're married, if they got kids, whatever. So, we'll off camera, we'll adjust this a little bit.
Okay.
But I guess what I would ask you guys is, what do you want to shoot for macros? Do you want to just focus on calories?
Do you think that the level that we're at, we can handle the macros? I don't want to do it. I want to make sure I get these workouts right. So I think personally I can handle the macros just because I do know how to read a label and I already kind of know, you know, what I'm looking for there. But I think I could go ahead and tackle the whole thing. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely could bump to macros.
Okay.
My comfortability and stuff. I mean, this is comfortable. This is where I need to be.
Yeah.
So I think I would love to push towards the macros because it's the only thing. I mean, I can get calories all day long and understand it.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to
Get the macros
where
in.
they're coming from, you know, and how to utilize them.
Sure. So, you know, we'll use this, and like I said, we'll adjust this a little bit. You know, we're going off, I think this is 2963. I believe, you know, this is going off of, you know, a maintenance.
I got you.
But off camera, we're going to go in and break down, you know, really what it boils down into. So typically, I'll pull up mine real quick if I can. You know, I'm recently trying to put on weight and, you know, and so, you know, I've got they're not going to see this, but I posted my graph recently as far as grams of carbs and protein and all that type of stuff.
I see.
So, as far as protein, typically, you know, anywhere from like 35% of your daily calories is going to be protein.
Okay.
And typically you're going to get your coaches that are saying, 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound per lean
I've heard
pound.
that, yeah.
Yeah, per lean
Exactly,
pound
yeah.
of body weight. It might be the same kind of measurement for carbs. And then your fats are going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 or 10 to 20%. So we're not going to do a whole lot of this right this second. We'll do this off camera, but for anybody that's just wanting a basic method, who is trying to start the gym, is trying to, got that workout in, this is a great way to just focus on the bare basics of starting to learn how to figure things up. Okay. We'll go into, types of food, just little tricks of the trade. What your guys' schedule right now? Let's go ahead and talk about this though. What is schedule-wise, food-wise? On the one hand, we talk about intuitive eating, and this is where you kind of, again, you've got to determine what you're willing to do. You're not going to be force feeding, but in the beginning, you might feel like you have to do a little bit more than intuitive eating.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, okay, how do I fit that food in? What do I do? What kind of is your guys', what's a typical day? What do you guys?
I would say a typical day would be like, I'll grab usually it's something little, like, because I really don't like working out on food. I just, for some reason, just jumping around with it, I really don't. And I always wondered if that kind of hindered me, like, not really. I've heard people saying, don't do it in a fasted state or your blood sugar might be too low or whatever, but I usually just grab like some protein source, beef stick or a yogurt or something. Pat usually eats like a banana or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a huge.
Then we hit the gym, and then post gym we're right into eating. I usually try to focus on having 20 to 30 grams of protein a meal, and that's kind of how I've kept myself on track. Just keeping it as simple and as basically as possible, avoiding white sugars, and just knowing when I sit down, prioritizing that I eat my protein, and then seeing how I feel like the rest.
So how many times a day do you guys typically eat snack?
Let's say 4 to 5.
Yeah,
5.
I'm
Okay.
not a big snacker. Like,
So, what we can do is work on ways to maybe you have, if we get to a point where we need to work on getting those calories in, we have our 3 to 4 meals, but then, so I'm going to give you kind of an example of what I do. And this may sound counterintuitive to a lot of people, but I get up and I have a bagel and I have a shake. I get to the gym. I have 4 scoops of strawberry jam right before I work out.
Yeah.
Mid-workout, I have another 4 scoops of strawberry jam. Post-workout, huge proponent. And we'll get into some of this stuff. We'll address a little bit of this on camera, but you guys probably heard like, oh, you don't want to drink milk, or you've heard all that stuff, okay?
Yeah.
I absolutely love Fairlife fat-free milk.
We do too.
So I use that post-workout with a protein scoop. Now, if we look at that, have I technically eaten a meal?
calorie-wise,
Calorized maybe, but have I
Yeah.
actually sat down and had some I might have had the equivalent of calories in a meal, but have I saturated my stomach to where I feel like when I'm coming in and working out, because I know what you're talking about. You just feel like all the
feeling.
right. And we're going to end up talking about this too, because I go home right now, and this is different when I'm maintaining. I go home, I have 5 egg whites, 2 whole eggs, 4 Eggo waffles with syrup, and 2 more cups of Fairlife milk. Now, again, to anybody who, doesn't understand how this works, I'm prioritizing certain nutrient-dense foods around my workouts. And I think we talked a little bit about it, let's say you've got a sweet tooth, okay? Well, around your workout's not a bad time to have that.
But that takes a lot of like healing that food, like exercise ailment that I had. Because I mean, even before, I feel like it's taken me years to like eat something and think I can still go to the gym. No, you screwed it. You had a Hershey candy bar. You might as well skip the next 3 days. That was so hard for me to get over, like that I could eat a bagel and then go work out. Like it still blows my mind.
Where did that initially come from? Like how did that get created?
Honestly, I think that came from me like demonizing certain food groups, mostly being carbs, and being told, that I need to limit them to cut it. And I mean, even when keto was going, full fad, like back, it didn't stick for me, obviously over time because I needed the carbs as my workouts got more intense because I was just too fatigued. But I feel like it's still ingrained as some sort of connection in my brain that eating those foods, like you just mentioned, I would never eat jam and work out, not without having a panic attack.
Right. So, and that's kind of some of the mental stuff that we've got to work out. I'm going to kind of assume to a degree, you probably could do stuff like that, but you're probably,
I get at the squirt Smuckers.
Okay, all right.
Like giving him that glare, he's eating a biscuit on the way to the gym. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother. I mean,
So,
I need that fuel. I feel like, I feel like any workout that I don't eat with, I feel almost
you
guilty.
lack a little bit.
But then I still feel like you could eat something healthier.
Well, here's what we've got to kind of look at when it comes to food. In a way, people will say, well, my body, your body just must respond different. And, I've got this. So you've got a lot of, I don't want to say gurus. They're sham, coaches. They've got to try to make something look more than it is, and so it's,
look like it's a new invented thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
repackage everything.
So what I like to tell people is if you are in a healthy state, you don't have anything wrong with you, and basically you're able to get a blood works and see that you are producing insulin, your thyroid's normal, et cetera, you're pretty well going to operate the same way. Sure. Let's talk about the low calorie stuff just real quick. People will say, well, my body's just different because I tried, I was eating low calories and it didn't work. Statistically, studies have shown, and I'll common sense wise, when you hear this, it makes sense, that people that follow a 1,200 calorie diet, 1,200 calorie a day diet, aren't actually following 1,200 calories. And here's why. Because 9 times out of 10, well, I'm on 1,200 calories, so that's not going to hurt me. Mm-hmm. Or, that won't hurt me. And next thing you know, it's 16, 18, 20, and it goes on up. So, but it sprouts into this whole concept of my body must be different. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly, as you start to fine tune things, and especially like in competitive bodybuilding, you start to find certain reactions. People can handle, more carbs, or maybe, one guy needs more cardio. But for the most part, when we're talking general fitness, most people are operating with the same system as everybody else. Yeah. So the question becomes kind of, how are you as far as, do you feel like, because I will tell you, it can be a little bit harder to try to get, if you're trying to increase your calories, you can do it, but it can be a little bit harder to try to increase your calories solely through, if we were going to go extreme, chicken and broccoli.
Yeah.
That's,
it's
not calorie dense.
Right. And so, but can you handle a little bit of changes, or is that going to throw you back?
I feel like I can handle it as long as it's with help, reassurance that I'm doing it right.
Okay.
Like I feel like I could do anything as long as, that sounds really like codependent, but.
So let's go ahead and put yours in. What was your 30?
Yes, 27 and a half, no, 27.8 on body fat.
What was weight?
A 175.
Height was 5.
7, yeah.
Say moderate exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, and sorry, what was the body fat?
What did I say? Let's see, 27.8.
All right. So, moderate exercise, we're talking 2,500 calories. So the question becomes, if I said you need to be on 2,500 calories tomorrow, you think you can do it? So we might have to try to, work up. And that's, again, why I kind of told him the same thing. We'll probably let's look for the lighter exercise, the 22-30. Mm-hmm. I would like you both to get up to the moderate exercise. Don't misunderstand. That's where I want you guys. But we've got to be realistic about this and say, all right, guys, tomorrow, good luck. You're by the end of the week, dude, I was so sick. Yeah. And again, we're starting off with failure. I would like to see you guys get up to this light exercise, calorie base, over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
That's doable. Maybe bump it up a little bit each week and kind of progress with that.
Yeah. So another kind of example I used whenever I was bodybuilding is I was stuck at a certain weight for years, probably around 240 something, and I had an old school guy that said, dude, you've got to eat red meat. You've got to up your red meat. You've got to increase your volume. And I was already eating a lot of food, and I went from, eating that 8 ounces of chicken to eventually I was eating 12 ounces of lean ground beef 5 times a day, plus a half a gallon of skim milk and mixed with. But in order to do that, how I started was I started with chicken. I implemented a beef meal here, a beef meal here, and then I slowly went up 2 ounces here, 2 ounces here. Once I got that, I did a 2 ounces here, and I worked my way up. And so, we've got to take that into consideration, because I think that's the other thing that kind of hacks me off with all the online, home, whatever is, it's just do this. And there are a lot of people out there that can do it.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people out there who try, fail, and just
lose the
so the how do I do that is kind of what we're going to work on over the next weeks. And again, we'll do all that stuff kind of off camera a little bit more. You guys have a pretty open schedule though. So food, is this the type of thing where we're going to look at maybe doing some prep stuff, or?
Well, neither one of us really care too much for prep food, but we do, we prep some things, and stuff like that.
What's your experience been with prep food in the past?
I'll make something and eat it for 2 days and then hate it.
What?
Rice and chicken, rice and pork roast, rice and steak.
So I'm going to make your lives a little bit easier, because we don't have to do chicken breast. Boneless, skinless chicken thigh.
That'll work.
I love chicken.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a caloric difference, but again, you guys are not doing a contest. So
And that's what I have loved about this whole last year. I just basically freed myself from all the nutrition. I know that's not good to do in the gym, but I just needed a break.
yeah, that's understandable.
I'm done thinking about what I'm putting in my mouth. I know it's right, not right, but it's better than what it was. And this is.
But you doing that is probably still better than what you did a few years ago.
Exactly.
And now you're kind of ready for that next phase, especially when it's purpose driven. And more importantly, there's a method on how to ramp it up and how to do it. So, boneless, skinless chicken thighs, that's fine, guys. If you want to grill up a bunch of those, you can do ground turkey. You can do 93% lean ground beef, flank steak. You can do, the other thing is this. I'm huge. Like right now, I don't know where it came from, but I'm doing my chicken and I'm doing like some light ranch dressing, and it's like I think it was, just so I'm not, because if I say this and then get caught, giving up. But serving size, 2 tablespoons, calories, 80.
It's not bad.
That's not bad for 2 tablespoons.
You need to tell him to stop cooking all his steaks with butter.
Well, here's the thing. We're not necessarily going to do that, but what we will start doing, we're going to measure that out. Because
and it's not a half a stick.
Well, we got to see. Again, here's the thing. This is the mentality. This is going to be good for you guys because we're going on the one end that's a free-for-all and the other end that's neurotic.
Yeah.
And let's try to come into the middle and say, look.
That's where we butt heads.
You can have steak and butter too. Let's just measure and see how much you can have.
That's what I need to do instead of.
Okay.
So where you guys can enjoy a dinner together. You guys can, it doesn't have to be, and again, when we're talking these calories, I've had somebody who I'm currently helping who came off some of the semi-glutide, the Monjero and stuff like that. And, we got the calories hooked up. And in the very beginning, it was like, oh, I was 60 calories over. And I'm like, no, we're not, we're not.
Yeah.
This is a general guideline. Again, if you are 5 weeks out from a bodybuilding contest, it matters. Okay. We want to keep things in check, but do not get to the, do not get up. So those are the things that I want you guys to do. Here's the thing, let's say you had, and we'll ask you this, are you guys the type, are you going to be able to handle some of this, or do you still need to feel like you have a cheat day? Or can you kind of fit your, again,
I think I could handle it at any time.
If you're a sweet person, what's your favorite cereal? What's your favorite? If you had a cheat,
I do love cereal.
What's your cereal? What do you like?
Crunch.
Captain Crunch. So if I told you that post workout, you can have 40 grams of carbs from Captain Crunch.
I'd have to have a therapist
with some milk. But here's the thing: could you handle that we're not talking about the guilt side. Let's get, could you handle that and not go out of control the rest of the day?
And eat whatever I wanted. Exactly. 'Cause
You know?
that usually opens the door to, I already had that, I'll have cookies.
But does that happen? Or are you able
It
to kind
does
of,
happen every once in a while.
Okay.
I can't say it doesn't happen, but I feel like I have much of a better grip on it than I ever did because everything's premeditated for me now.
and that's kind of what we're working into. What I'm going for is this, and again, this is this stuff that I hate with these generic coaches because it's a one size fits all. You know, somebody gets excited about something that they've learned something and they're trying to put it out there like it's this big new thing and put all their clients on it, you know, and it might even be a good process. That doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. So the question is, if we work on getting prepped food, we work on all this, are you able to fit in a sweet post-workout and then continue
And then
with
be okay.
Yeah, and then be okay? Or do we need to stay really clean with you and say, okay, on Saturdays, you know, it doesn't even, some people can't handle a cheat. I've done stuff with people where, you know, some people are good with a cheat day. Some people say, I can't do that, it'll go on the next. You know, so we do a cheat time period, you know, from 6 a.m. to 11. I'll ask them, are you a breakfast food or more of a hamburger food? Oh, God, breakfast is great. Okay, from 6 a.m. to 11, have whatever you want.
There you go.
You know, but the question is, do you feel like that's something you're more going to have to do? Or, and this is not saying that even with a bowl of Captain Crunch, you guys still can't go
Yeah.
on a Saturday to a good restaurant, and sit down to a good dinner.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to, again, honestly assess your capabilities and figure out, be real with yourself. What do I think I can handle?
I think I would probably be the only Saturday until I got the reins tighter, and then maybe in a couple weeks trust myself.
Okay. So then how do you feel about if we do incorporate some easily digestible, because I'm honestly surprised, like a beef stick before a workout's actually kind of, that would give me
Because in my head, anything that's not going to like drag me down and like make me.
Do you know why I do the jam?
Well, is it because of like your glucose and like your pump and everything?
It's because it breaks down. I don't want to feel
it's
bloated.
Quick acting.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to feel bloated.
It's the same principle of like drinking apple juice and stuff, right? Or no?
Right. Yeah, it's something I want something that's quick and highly disposable to give me some extra energy while I work out.
Okay.
So that's the whole idea behind that. And that's why incorporating some of this stuff around your workout is a good time, because before a workout, you're fueling your body. Post-workout is a great time, you know, not to get into it too much, but basically your body's in that absorption state. Yeah. And so again, there are bodybuilders, absolutely. They have steak and rice post-workout. Yeah. But general rule of thumb is if you want something that's a little bit more easy, you know, I can have everything I just told you, have my shake, have my milk, go home and still eat an hour later and not feel like I'm bloated. So, you know, if we can find some foods that you could have, like half a bagel with a little bit of jam before workout, here's where I think that the switch is going to flip for you. The first week that you do that and you crush your workouts, you're going to be like, okay, I think I can handle this. You know, because I've got another client that I've helped that we got the food up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. First week, crushing her workouts. She now notices a difference if she comes, and this is what I did with her, because she wanted to figure out how to fit that sweet tooth in. So I said, look, you're coming straight from work to here, stop and get a Snickers bar. I don't care. Have a Snickers bar, that's your pre-workout, get here and work out. She now is like, if I don't have enough food, you know, you don't know because you haven't done it before. Once you finally get that, it's like that workout that we did. Once the switch finally flips, it's like, well, how can I ever go back to that? So that's more.
You wire yourself a certain way though when you do it every day, you know.
And that's why we've got to work. You know, we've got to work into things to change the wiring and work on ways to rewire. And it's also the type of thing you may, like, let's say you told me that, you know what, I think I'm willing to try the cereal post-workout. You've also got to be willing that if in 2 weeks you're like, Brian, it's not working, I'm splurging. You got to be able to feel like you can say, we've got to adapt. Because too many times people get set into something and that's what I've got to do. And if I don't do it, I'm failing, but I'm also failing anyway because I keep eating everything else in sight. I don't want them to be disappointed, so I'm not going to say anything. You know, you turn into this. So that's fine if we need to keep things more to a cheat day. You know, I would say probably the things with couples is that you guys probably have a pretty good working relationship with it already, but you might want to fine tune it just a little bit because it is the type of thing where if you're able to have something and kind of, hey, I'm done, we still want to kind of keep, it's not like you don't want to be, fascists in the sense that do not have that stuff around me. I can't see it, So we've got to find a way to, we've got to find a way to meet in the middle. And I will say this, just from knowing you guys, what you've got to remember is, I know you both have goals, but I see you as kind of the supportive factor. Exactly, and I see you as the one that's like, I want the Ferrari. So what we've got to remember is, again, I saw a meme here not too long ago about a contestant page that put up something that basically was, trying to state how to not have the equivalent of microaggressions towards a competitor. Make sure you say this right. Make sure you don't do this. Here's the thing. If you choose to do something, you cannot let your choice be something that over affects everybody around you. You're making the choice, and that's fine. That's why it's called discipline. It doesn't mean we can't work together and find, the best cohesive pattern that we have. Maybe you're not as flagrant with hey, check out my chocolate milk and my, whatever. But at the same time, if that's around, you're not so.
And I do come at him with
because you in a way you've got the same goal, but you kind of have different goals as well.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing this, the same thing for a multitude of the same reasons. Right. But I feel like her workouts may be amplified by different, ideas and things she wants. So,
right. So I think that's an important thing to kind of figure out between you guys. Anything else? Any questions? We had you write down a ton of questions. My hope was that by the time we got done with this, you're going to be able to look down and go, man, I think everything was pretty well.
I think that's kind of what I'm doing here. Let's see. Nutrition, how it'll play a role in how I feel and my strength, kind of how you were already talking about, because there were days that I did track because I would get one of those wild hairs of seeing something, I'm going to do it for 3 days, but no real commitment, and then I would notice a difference, you know what I mean, with me eating more calories, because I think overall I tend to undereat. I think that's just been the standard of my issues, is I wonder how long my undereating has actually...
Well, and that could be a little bit due to appetite. You guys are working out. Let's see what happens when we up the intensity of your workouts, throw that 30 minutes of fast-paced walking in, and let's see what that does to your appetite.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah,
because there's a good chance that we're going to see some appetite increase, and then it's going to be more along the lines of trying to make sure that's filled throughout the day. If you came to me and you said, look, our goal is to just lose weight. That's all we want to do. We don't have to make it this miserable experience, but to a degree, until you get to a certain point, you have to be prepared to have a little bit of hunger. You have to be prepared to,
the mental toughness, everything's not going to be comfy.
Right. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it has to be this
terrible,
horrible experience. I noticed you guys both have watches. Okay. So, one thing that you could also do is on your off days. Do you guys come in? Do you do anything on your off days?
It depends. Sometimes we'll come in. But sometimes we'll come in and we'll do a little bit of stuff on the turf, and then we'll go for a walk or something. But we try to do something. If
you guys wanted to, and this is the eventual goal. Right now we're having you we're having you combine everything together because it's more conducive in the sense that this is my time period to exercise, this and walk. There are groups and methods out there that they take the cardio out and they say, look, you're going to burn X amount of calories on 30 minutes of cardio, the same as you would getting 10,000 steps in a day. So why do I want to do 30 minutes of cardio after I've worked out when I can just put my watch on and I can get my steps in and I've done the same thing? I don't want to do that with you guys just yet because I think it is going to, especially with you, it's more important to have it compartmentalized. This is my time. But what I was going to say is on your off days, that's not a bad time to shoot for those 10,000 steps.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't have to be all at once. It could be the type of thing where you guys have a meal, go take a 10-minute walk. Maybe after every meal, you do 2 20-minute walks. Maybe you're just tracking throughout the day, and by a certain time, okay, we're both at whatever, let's head into the gym and finish our steps or take a walk, whatever. But that's a good way, because I know me personally, I do great throughout the week. And my problem is actually getting enough food in. Mm-hmm. My problem is on the weekends. And it's not like most people where, oh, I do too much. My problem is I can go have, Chinese food, and then I don't eat anything else. And that sounds bad, but as far as caloric intake for the day, I'm actually taking in less calories total.
So that's okay, because you know how many times that we'll go eat El Espelon and then I won't feel hungry, so I don't eat the rest of the day because I've eaten so much food.
Here's how you got to think about it different. Uh-huh. When you're trying to have more self-discipline. So when we're talking about our off days, it's real easy, when I'm on it like I am now, instead of going and getting that large beef and broccoli, large house fried rice, 2 egg rolls, I get a small beef and broccoli, maybe an egg roll. Uh-huh. I eat that, and then I go back on to my whatever meals.
So you got your taste. You're out.
Yeah. Because I understand completely. That is my problem. Mm-hmm. I will go and I can eat an entire pizza, and then I don't want to eat anything for the rest of the day, or maybe if I do, it's very minimal.
That's it. Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people that do that. It's really. I say this as more of our mentality. It might be more of a U.S. thing, but we are very fortunate that we can have whatever we want whenever we want it. And the truth of the matter is, if you can get into the mentality that, look, I don't get my full El Espelon, I'm going to have, but guess what? Next week I can have it again.
That idea of still going there, still getting to try it and eat it. But
and I feel like that's kind of where we've been, which we could get better, but now we don't, we don't get 2 separate orders. We split one thing,
right.
And we kind of, it's more of an enjoyment and a date instead of it being like a cheat meal.
Right.
Or it all based around how much food you can eat.
Right. But exactly. I would like to see you guys get steps in and still keep that food. I'm not saying you have to get the calories, because you're not exercising that day. You're not. Mm-hmm. But it does help. And here's this is what I find. Whether I'm trying to gain or lose, the weekend determines how efficiently that goes. And I know most people look at that as far as, cheating. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about my eating pattern and efficiently, because I will find that if I'm eating what I'm supposed to eat calorie-wise throughout the weekend, Monday's workout is freaking because I'm not depleted. Mm-hmm. I'm not sitting here going off that one big meal I had on Saturday, which then leads into Sunday kind of snacking around. Mm-hmm. I had the base consumption of my calories, so I'm good to go. I'm good to go on Monday. And likewise, I'm also, I'm still incorporating that and it's also just good to have. It's good to exercise self-discipline and not always get what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, and it's hard.
But that's not to say that you guys aren't going to have bad days. You're not going to have bad whatever. Mm-hmm. The point is, though, we're not going to cry. We're just going to jump back on the next day, because we've got this plan that we're following. Mm-hmm. We fell off over a weekend. It's all right. Monday, we're starting off. We're going to continue where we left off. So we talked about that. What other questions did you have in there?
Let's see.
If any.
I think you covered all my nutrition questions. And my other questions were basically related to the structure of our lifting. So I'm good. What about you?
The only thing I really had was, I kind of had some questions about, getting some blood work done and stuff like that. But, other than that, I'm really...
Okay.
My questions were...
I guess my main goal with even having this help is that I step foot in the gym with some intention. And I want some motivated intention. I'm so tired of the listless, what machine's next, And like I said, there's only so much I have learned, from my working out at home, and trying out different kinds of programs that I have to keep pushing myself.
Sure.
And I find myself just not even recognizing that I've gone into this autopilot.
We'll call it feather status.
Yeah.
When you throw a feather up and it's falling and you're trying to keep it up, but you're not really making progress.
But getting frustrated.
You're just trying to keep afloat. Yeah. So, and again, that's not to say that this isn't going to happen. We all have those moments, but the idea is to give you guys a base of knowledge to start, and you can start looking at things. In a way, right now, you need to have the blinders on. We can get to a point to where you can start to look at other things and I think, I really like this routine. I think after, such and such time, I want to try it. Mm-hmm. without getting to a point of, like you said in the very beginning, you see so much stuff on social media, and it causes you to kind of freak out. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, off camera, we're going to kind of finish out talking about some of the stuff we've had. Hopefully, this will give people kind of a general idea of what, like I said, not every coach, personal trainer, online coach has to do what we've done today. But I think this gives you guys, because you guys have experience in the past, you can see the difference between what we're actually
individualized.
Right. Yeah. When people say one-on-one coaching and, have 1,000 people, or 500 people or whatever, this is what I consider one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
All right. All right. For anybody else that's watching, hope you learned something. It's not a short video. You got to pay attention. And I guess that's it from Brian's Gym.
Sure.
Pat, Kendra, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And that's it.